would think after Logan Paul, white people would just avoid the forest altogether, but I guess old habits do die hard. Literally. The Ritual is Netflix's latest original, which isn't really a Netflix original because this movie already aired in theaters in the UK, but Netflix does own the rights, so I guess they can call it whatever the hell they want. The Ritual is about a group of 4 friends who decide to take a trip to Sweden to honor their dead friend who got killed during a liquor store robbery. During this trip, they decide for some fucking reason to go take a shortcut through the Swedish forest that ends up being possessed by some sort of demonic entity. What that demonic entity is, I do not want to spoil it. If you're wondering why they chose to go to Sweden and hike in the first place, it's because that's where their dead friend wanted to go right before he kicked the bucket. Now, this movie doesn't make a mention of what these guys do for a living or how the hell they even met. But I know if I was planning a trip with my friends, there's at least that one friend that's gonna be like, ah man, you see the way my bank account is set up, I don't think I'll be able to go to Sweden. We could go grab a couple beers at an Irish pub, but that's about it. The Ritual is directed by David Bruckner, who was like one of 5 directors to direct VHS. It's kind of a standard horror B-movie, but if you're a fan of horror and have a couple hours to kill, definitely recommend checking VHS out. It's also starring Rafi Spall, who's been in movies like Big Short and Prometheus, but I know him as that only white guy from Life of Pi. The Ritual is a movie that moves pretty quickly. There's not a lot of time wasted on the setup. Within the first 10 minutes, you're introduced to this cast of characters. You also witness the liquor store robbery that Rafi Spall's character has to deal with for the entirety of the movie, and the journey through this forest shortly begins right after. The majority of the cast, for the exception of Rafi Spall, is unknown, and I'm not gonna fucking pretend like I know what little known movies they're in. Just know that they do show camaraderie and they come off believable as a set of friends trying to make their way through this demonic forest. One of the things I liked about this movie was that these friends talk like actual friends would in a situation like this. One of the friends says something like, "I wish we would've just went to Vegas." Which is exactly something I would say in this situation. Why they fucking chose to go hiking in Sweden out of all places, I have no idea. They must not know they're in a horror movie. The Ritual does have the usual horror movie tropes. Characters get divided only to get killed off one by one. Spoiler alert. There's an abandoned cabin that always seems to find a place in movies like these. I don't know what it is about cabins and whatnot, but I think writers need to come up with something more creative because it's definitely cliche. There's the usual jump scares that really serve no purpose other than to tell the audience, hey, this is a horror movie. The Ritual is actually a book written by Adam Neville. What David Bruckner saw in this book, I have no idea. This movie doesn't offer anything original. This actually just reminded me of the Blair Witch Project minus the shaky cam, which I guess there is a place for it on Netflix, but it definitely wasn't something that you're gonna say, oh my god, I've never seen this before. Rafi Spall's character in this movie experiences flashback to the liquor store robbery that kills his friend. He's obviously suffering a severe case of survivor's guilt, but this movie doesn't really do anything with it. This movie drags on with no real suspense or horror. I really think this movie would have been better served if it was marketed more as a thriller instead of a horror. Now, don't get me wrong, it definitely has its moments where you're on the edge of your seat, but those moments are few and far in between. The Ritual actually shares a lot of elements to a movie that came out in Sundance last year called Mandy. It's pretty much the same plot, except it's far less scary and far less intriguing. Honestly, this movie just came off as cliche, and there was nothing in the horror genre that this movie contributed towards. Overall, as Netflix B-movies go, I actually was quite entertained with this movie, even though it dragged off in parts. It actually was done better from this movie called It Comes at Night. So if you haven't seen that movie and you're in the mood for a stranded in the middle of nowhere type of horror movie, definitely check out It Comes at Night. And even though I was entertained, The Ritual is something that I'm probably not going to watch again. So with that said, I'll rate this movie a one-night stand. Alright guys, that'll be it for my review of The Ritual. If you want to see any more of my movie reviews or opinion pieces, check out my other videos. When you finally do see The Ritual, just tell me what you think, comment below, subscribe, like, do all that shit everyone else tells you to do. Alright guys, catch you on the next one.